I'm going to try to win a national championship, but I can only recruit one type of player, athletes. Doing this, we shouldn't have any issues finding talent to fill the skill positions, but because very few athletes in this game are meant to be linemen, and I don't think we'll find one that can actually kick the ball, this could cause a lot of issues before we're able to claim a title. Take a look at this map too. It is every school in green that I have ever used in a video before on this channel. I want to eventually get to every single one, and remembering Arkansas State is supposed to have water fountains going off in this game every single time that they score a touchdown, it's a no-brainer that I should use them for this video while recruiting athletes only. When I go to take a look at their starting roster though, there's only 5 players on here I'm even excited about. You might recognize the name of their quarterback, Jalen Rayner. He's had some good moments in some of the college football imperialisms over the last couple years, and his accuracy could get up very high, but we have to replace him with an athlete in the future. We only have him for 2 more years, like basically everybody else on this roster. I tried to get rid of a lot of the freshmen and sophomores, but look at Tennell Bryant. He was a receiver. I moved him over to running back just for fun because he has 98 speed. I wanted to have fun before the athletes came in. So those are the guys to make note of for these first couple of years. You're going to see that we have 3 road games to open up the season. Not too excited about that, especially with a 71 overall team. But the main purpose of this video is trying to win a championship, recruiting only players that are listed as athletes. So this is what our board is going to look like from the start. We have 350 hours to spend a week. That only allows us to go after 7 players at a time because our school grades just aren't high enough. And that's why it's probably not intelligent to be going after a 4-star gem, Frederick Hawkins, already, but he is 94 speed, and as an athlete, we could probably move him to any position on the field. The only other 4-star I'm trying to land after that is Morris Tryon. He could play quarterback for us. A lot of these athletes, though, you're going to see they're going to be listed as stuff like agile because these are the players that could play on the offensive line. That's really one of the biggest struggles that we're going to face. If you go looking for athletes at any of the offensive line positions besides center, you're not going to be able to come up with anything. And that is also true for all cornerbacks and safeties. There's no athletes that start off at these positions, so we're going to have to move them over from stuff like receiver and running back. Lastly, before we hop into our first game, I will mention we have no chance whenever it comes to kickers and punters at getting athletes, so we're going to have to move random athletes over to those positions. And guys like Angel Stingley might think they're coming in to play quarterback for Arkansas State, but he could end up an 88 speed kicker. With all that out of the way, we're going to open up the year playing at Arkansas. It is the only in-state opponent we're going to have on our schedule. And we don't get to see whether or not we're going to have water fountains going off when we score touchdowns. 1, because I'm not sure we're going to be able to score a touchdown, and 2, it's on the road. Arkansas isn't exactly a team that many programs would fear if they're facing them, but we are. Mainly because I am not sure what to expect against the Razorbacks. They have a 15 overall advantage and they're losing. There's still a lot of time left, but we've been playing well defensively. And that is how we have been able to stay in this one throughout the entire game. With 3 minutes left, we're only down by 2, and we have it. I will say, the main purpose of these first couple seasons is just to recruit athletes to start that athletes-only rebuild. But winning games in the process will make recruiting easier and give us a lot more hours to work with in recruiting, which we need. On 3rd and 4, we're just going to get it back to our 98 speed running back. He also has the shifty ability, so we're able to cut up and get into the end zone. And I told you, Bryant was going to be fun to use for a couple of seasons. It is very rare that I'm able to start a rebuild having success, but we have picked off the Razorbacks. They're going to lose. And so much for it saying that this is only a 71 overall roster. We also leveled up for the first time after that win, so I've started to spend our recruiter points in this skill tree. We're putting them into the halfback extra recruiting hours, even though we're only able to go after athletes, because any athlete that's listed as an elusive back like Frederick Hawkins, we can now put 65 hours into instead of just 50. I'm really hoping that helps our chances, but if you've ever seen a rebuild of mine, I only play 3 regular season games a year, so it forces me to build an actual good roster. And that's why I decided to sim against Memphis, who is the only team that is listed as a rival to Arkansas State inside the actual game. We lost to them, but if we ever want to unlock stuff inside the Architect tree, we have to win 4 rivalry games against them. I really just like Tier 1 and Tier 2 of Architect. It gives us a chance to increase random skill caps on a lot of our players. So that's something I want to save up a lot of skill points for, and we're just laying the foundation right now. We're going to lose to teams like Clemson. In fact, they're also going to beat us out for this 4-star quarterback, because what are we going to hard sell him on? We have D- school grades for the things that he's interested in, so we might as well just get Morris Tryon off of our board, stay focusing on Hawkins. And if I see any battles for these athletes that we're going to lose in the long run, I might just start going after some other ones. I have some good news as well. We can schedule Frederick Hawkins for a visit against an FCS school who we should be able to beat. That is going to help us out a lot in this battle. And there's a reason that this is going to be one of the 3 games I hop into this season. We have got to be able to win it. Whenever I can get a 4-star prospect to a 1-star school in year 1, I always see it as an accomplishment. And it is time to confirm whether or not it is actually true. I'm pretty sure EA put the water fountains going off every time they score a touchdown, but I'm not 100%. I was told that they did, and I also tweeted that they did, but I never actually checked for it myself. Just immaculate journalism right there. We're gonna punch it into the end zone. And it is time to look around the stadium stadium, see if anything changed. Okay, so I want you all to watch closely. If you look straight in front of the end zone, you're going to see the waterfalls right there. They go off during the game like this, but let's look back at the actual running play. Whenever we cross the end zone, you're going to see the running back has the ball. He takes it in. And then watch what happens with these water fountains. It does actually shoot off. The next time we go to score a touchdown, I want to run for it in the corner of the end zone so we can actually see this on the screen happening. I'm just glad that they added cool features like this, even for the small schools. It's not just for the big ones. But unfortunately, something I realized was in the second quarter, we are not going to have them on this side of the field. That was a great way to end the first half, though. I panicked. I just threw the ball up. We didn't have timeouts, so we couldn't settle for 3. And I kind of feel bad, but I almost feel like I'm just playing with my food against them. We have a 98 speed running back and some good blocks lined up. Bryant is going to be able to go all the way to the crib here, and let's see if we can get that end zone to go off with the waterfalls. They do. My editor's going to have to make my face cam just disappear for a little second there so you all can see it. And yes, it is nice that we're going to get a win against an FCS school with a 4-star recruit visiting, but I'm just glad that we're discovering new things about all these programs. I want to be able to showcase that type of stuff around the country no matter what school I'm using. It is what makes college football so unique. And boys, I got some good news. Frederick Hawkins has committed to Arkansas State. In my mind, we just have to pretend that he is the younger brother of Cedric Hawkins, our backup running back that doesn't have 98 speed, so he doesn't get to see the field as much. And he was the main focal point for this recruiting class. After that, I'm just going to go after as many 3-stars that I can and see where we're able to move them around once we get to the offseason. We're also about to start Sunbelt Conference play where I'm just going to sim probably the entire year. And this is exactly why. As you can see, the losses were going to come eventually. We got a couple good ones to open up the year, but after that, it's going to go downhill. If anything, that just shows how poverty Arkansas football is since we were able to beat them. And we would pick up our 3rd win of the year against Louisiana Monroe in overtime by 2 points. It also seems like we're going to be able to sign just enough athletes to have a starting offensive line of agile athletes. All of these guys, even though they're not going to be their highest overall on the offensive line, it's the only players that we can move there. So we're just going to have to work with this 65 pass block on our offensive line for this entire rebuild. My biggest fear for this rebuild is not how we're going to do in the Sun Belt in the future. I think even recruiting only athletes will be able to survive in the conference. We're already doing all right for year 1, but it's our offensive line facing off against big programs that are going to get in within like half a second. We really don't need to worry about that for a long time though. That is far out in the future. For now, I'm trying to make it to a bowl. And beating South Alabama would keep us in the hunt, which is why I've decided that this is going to be the final game I play this season. It really isn't fair that we get to start off having Jalen Raynor. He has been a stud for us, and there's also been a plethora of guys on our defense that have held it down too. This is a huge moment though. We could end the game if they can't get this 4th and 6. Gio Lopez looks like he's about to scramble, except he just rolled out, used a playmaker. And that's the kid that Bill Belichick decided he wanted at North Carolina. He recruited him, and he is making some incredible throws. I really don't see us blowing this lead either way, though. I mean, that was a dot. They just have to be able to stop the run, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to. We're a couple first downs away from sealing it. You can see how tired Brian is, but he still broke off a huge touchdown run, and that's going to get us the win. For the final game of season 1, either us or Marshall is about to become bowl eligible, but unfortunately, it is going to be the Thundering Herd, not us, and it wasn't even close. We're going to finish the season near the bottom of the Sun Belt West Conference standings. I think it's the only conference that still has divisions left in college football. And I don't even need to explain what I'm doing at the moment, though I did just notice one of our coordinators has a national pipeline. I've never seen that before. It might actually be worth it to keep around Russ Sanders for a little bit longer, especially since he allows us to scout certain positions a lot quicker. That's how I was even able to figure out that Frederick Hawkins was a gym, and he comes in with star development. That's exactly what I want to see. I still have no idea what position we're going to have him move to. Jalen Raynor finished with these stats, not the worst in the world. He was also our leading rusher. And looking back, if we left Tanel Bryan at receiver instead of having him at running back, he probably would have been our leading receiver. I think the main reason he wasn't our leading rusher himself is because he had a lot of injury issues throughout the year. I think he only played half the season. But he's 5'7" at running back. I don't know what I was expecting. As for our defensive coordinator, I'm going to hire this guy that's mainly a tactician that'll also be a motivator, which will allow our players to level up a little bit quicker. Even though at the moment we don't have that much in the recruiter tree, he does a good job at covering some of those other areas that our coaches aren't currently doing. And for spending our 30 skill points, I've made it so athlete quarterbacks we can recruit faster, we can scout defensive linemen and linebackers a bit quicker too, and even some offensive linemen. With all of that, I'm hoping it can help us eventually get to this playoff level with only athletes. And for being a small school, we're not losing too much to the transfer portal. Not many of our players are getting poached, but we are losing 2 of our top guys to graduation. Then next year's class is going to have 27 guys that are graduating out of it, but that's where we're really going to get this start on having only athletes on our team once they're gone. And I really just don't have the hours available able to recruit as many players as I want. You can see that we're trying to put points, barely any, into some of these guys. I'm not even putting points into some of the other ones, hoping that they eventually walk on. We have some tight battles here at the end. And I think it should be pretty self-explanatory since every player in the transfer portal is listed at a specific position already. I'm not going to be able to use it this entire video. At the end of the offseason, I think I ended up signing more players than you might have expected. Yes, we lost a couple battles, like Ole Miss took that 3-star from us, but besides that, we've been able to pull in 28 athletes. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but not one of them had a good dev trait besides that 4-star at the top. Impact is really just okay, but our class rank should be inside the top 50. We come in at 42, and as you can see, all of them should be listed as athletes only. It just lists them by their main position on this screen. They will most likely not be playing there though, and this is where I cannot forgive EA for never giving us a way to select the position of athlete, so we have to search by this every single time I change one of these players' positions to somewhere on the field just to get back to our athletes. I will say, this has got to be the most athletes that you have ever seen of moving around. I have a lot of work that I'm about to put in. And Frederick Hawkins was the 4-star that was supposed to be a running back for us. We could make him a deep threat receiver, which would probably be a really good fit. I'm just hesitant on it, but I think we're going to do it anyway. The reason for that is the only other players that can play receiver for us I'm aware of so far are these physical guys, and it seems like they're better off at tight end or even safety, maybe corner too. It's really hard to track where I end up putting everybody, but if I go back into the recruiting board, Frederick Hawkins will now be listed as a wide receiver. We'll have Jarrett Coates as a tight end, and my solution for our kicker and punter is the 2-star quarterback athletes that I've recruited. We're just going to put them over there as 36 overalls and hope that they actually develop. When it came to our quarterback room, I took the Browns approach. I just got as many as I could, and I'm hoping that at least one of them pans out, but this is a little bit of an issue, so it's a good thing some of them are a bit quicker, like Moses Battle with his 89 speed that we're able to move over to positions like corner. My biggest concern though, of course, was our offensive line. That's why I signed these 5 agile athletes. What you're going to see with guys like Jason Beach is they are much better on the defensive line, or we could even make them speed rusher linebackers, but we're going to have to make them 60 overall offensive linemen. And another key thing I've been looking at a lot is the speed of some of these guys before I decide their position. Like we have Zach Rollins at 6'4" coming in that's going to make for an interesting cornerback. He's super tall, but he's the fastest we have. And after spending probably 30 minutes staring at this screen, trying to move everybody around to their first position, this is what I have come up with. We have all of these guys at least somewhere on the field, and we'll see if they end up developing decently. Especially after all these seniors graduate from this season, it's going to be interesting to see what we can do when our roster really is only athletes. And in case you're wondering, yes, I am going to redshirt as many of those freshmen as I can, just so we have them around for an extra year, because I think they're going to need it for how they develop. The only freshman I really couldn't redshirt was our new kicker and punter, and then also one of the left guards. And I'm very interested to see what happens with Derek Duval. He comes in with his 36 kick power, his 36 kick accuracy, with some crazy skill caps, but we just need him to be decent. It's probably going to be another season where we're not able to make it to a bowl game, but you never know. We're coming in as a 77 overall. And although I shouldn't really be doing it with the school grades that we have, I am always going to try and find at least one 4-star for us to target in each class so we can have some special talent. For this class, that's going to be Kentucky quarterback JJ McCaleb. He's not a gym or anything, but he has platinum field general. And then there's something else I discovered. This 4-star athlete, he has 95 speed. You might notice though, we're not going after him. I didn't have the hours to put into him since we only have 350. What I found was a 95 speed gym 3-star athlete that has that same build, so we can get guys that are a little bit quicker. It's just nice to know that that's even possible to find, and now we have to hop into this game against Memphis. I don't expect us to take down our rivals with a roster of like 35-40 players outside of all the kids that are redshirted, but I figured it wouldn't hurt to see what happens against them, and I think this season is gonna be a disaster. It has taken us a long time to get into the end zone, and that is the only time in this game that would even happen for us. We have barely been able to stop them because it's stuff like that. What I have learned is I think this team's gotten even worse since last season, but honestly that's okay. I'm just gonna focus less on what happens on the field and more on recruiting. We ended up losing to the Razorbacks this season, but we did beat FCS Southeast, and we're gonna have to play LSU after that. I mean, it's just gonna go downhill. I'll probably sim about to week 10, but in the process of all of that, I have found out that for 4-star quarterback JJ McCaleb, we can actually hard sell on him because he cares about proximity to home. That was important for us to figure out, and a couple of weeks later, we are going to schedule him for a visit against South Alabama. Just like last season, if we want to get him to commit, we probably have to make sure that we win our visit week. And since we started off Sunbelt play with a win, we're sitting tied for first place in our conference. If we come out on top of this one against the Jaguars as well, maybe we could have a good season. It'll really just depend how bad the rest of our conference is versus us. And I'm starting to think that that last win might have been a fluke. We have struggled against South Alabama, though we're going gonna get out of here with Bryant. This should be a touchdown. Finally, we're having something go our way. It just hasn't been a great week for the quarterback to visit, and can we thread that into that window? We almost did. A lot of our success, though, really comes on the ground. We're gonna pull it with Rayner. There's just one player that he needs to make miss, and it feels like all of a sudden we could have this one back within just 7 points. We are gonna need to pick up this 4th and 1, though. On the ground, I think we're gonna be short, and that sums up this game for us pretty well. In the final minute and a half, we're just heaving it down the field to Bryant. I don't know why I didn't think about using the 98 speedster as a wide receiver a little bit earlier, since that was his former position, but it is our last fighting chance at getting back into this game, and that's going to be in bounds. Since we've already had used one of our timeouts as well, I'm afraid this game's over, and we just got held to 7 points. I think that's going to be the reason that JJ McCaleb chooses Kentucky over us. He visits them in 2 weeks, and he's probably not about to commit after this week, and I really didn't want to have to spend any more points in the recruiter skill tree, but I'm afraid we're going to have to go down that pathway so we can make sure we get some more offensive linemen. See, here's the thing. There were only 3 guys listed as agile athletes this season that we were able to go after, and they're the only players that we can move there, so we have to get all 3. And I think a lot of them are being turned off from the Red Wolves because we've been having a rougher year. I even know that one of those athlete centers is a bust, but we have no choice but to pick him up. And I just can't believe how many battles are coming down to the wire for some of these 3 stars. They're going to be extremely tight, especially for JJ McCaleb. Luckily, we've advanced a week, and he has decided that he wanted to come to our school instead of representing his home state Wildcats. And I couldn't tell you what the appeal is about Arkansas State at the moment, since we're currently sitting at 3-6. We no longer have any shot at making our conference championship, and we have 3 road games to finish out the year, one of them against 8-1 Southern Miss. All of a sudden, though, I am back into it because we scored 21 points in the 4th quarter. We beat them by 4, and all we need to do now is beat Louisiana, who is currently 1-5 in Sunbelt play. I had really high hopes. I simmed it thinking we'd play James Madison if we beat them, but they doubled the score. And so now it doesn't really matter how we finish out the year. It was another loss, but we still had that miraculous win with this same score flipped around against Southern Miss. And I'm so proud of that because they finished this season inside the top 25. We're also on track to make a plethora of signings. I'm hoping by the time we get to the transfer portal period, we'll have 14 guys committed to Arkansas State. That's about the best I can do with only 350 hours a week, though I do think it is time that we get rid of Russ Sanders. These recruiting benefits are not that much. So even though I kept him around for an extra season, he's now been fired. Losing his national pipeline, though, has actually affected our pipelines. I noticed that last year we had a 3-star pipeline in Georgia. I really wish these were dynamic. Probably one of the bigger misses that they had in Dynasty with this game. And look at this. Texas A&M and Texas just came out of nowhere to make sure Carlos Paulo does not end up at Arkansas State. We aren't really in a position to compete with these other schools in recruiting unless we sign this offensive coordinator who has a ton of boost for recruiter. And with bringing him in, you're going to see that we're going to be able to put more hours into every single position of athletes that we're able to go after, since there's no athletes at the defensive back one. Even if we don't have that many hours to spend every week, that was a great pull for us. And it is time to say goodbye to a lot of this original roster. Jalen Rayner has now graduated, so has our 98 speed running back Tennell Bryant. But fortunately, we are still going to have our 3 leading receivers all returning for an extra year or 2. It's also important to note that Derek Duval, our 36 overall kicker, made 6 of his 7 field goals attempted. Longest one was only 31 yards, though. He also didn't miss a single extra point, so some colleges would love this. He is not performing like a 36 overall, that's for sure. Taking a look at all of these graduates, though, it'll be interesting to see what the team looks like next year. As we go into the most important period of recruiting, we have 11 players signed. These 5 first guys, they're all just going to be walk-ons for us. No one else is in the battle for them. Then I have points put into these guys, hoping that we can catch up, and then it's the big strategy that paid off last year. This is something new that I've just figured out, but I've been able to find a lot of 3-stars that were interested in our school. Nobody else is targeting them, so I've put 10 hours on them, and I've offered them a scholarship where I think we'll be able to win most of these battles. If we don't, though, I won't be upset since I didn't pursue them at all this year. And from the looks of it, we're going to lose a battle to Houston. That's all I see so far, and then one to Notre Dame and Nebraska, but that's it. That's not bad at all, especially since we were able to get a couple players with star development, one of them being that 95 speed physical athlete. I'd say that this class is better than the one that we had last year. It is going to be ranked a few spots higher than the previous. And when it comes to moving all of these guys around, I'm going to be here for 30 minutes again, just sitting here trying to figure out the best way to maximize all of their overalls. But we know that JJ McCaleb is going to go over to scrambler quarterback. Jaquez Treggs, the fastest of the bunch with his 95 speed, would be an absolutely sick user as a pass coverage middle linebacker, but I do think we're going to put him at receiver just because we need to have our speed at that spot. And this is where I'm pitching to EA. Let us have athletes that play on both sides of the field. Travis Hunter just won the Heisman. He was a cover athlete, and you still have a game that won't even track offensive and defensive stats for the same player? Well, it took a lot of careful consideration, but with how I've worked out this roster so far, I think we're going to have a really fun team to play with, assuming that all these guys develop it where I've put them. When it comes to freshmen, we currently have a very balanced team. If I went to every position and scrolled through all of them, you'd see that each position has at least 2 freshmen, and then there's some exciting ones, especially when we get over to linebacker, like guys like David. He is 93 speed, he comes in with some decent abilities already. Even at cornerback, I feel like we've been able to keep these guys pretty fast and also really tall. The only areas where I'm really not seeing a future for the team is still going to be our offensive line. I'm not sure how these guys are going to develop. They could be 70 overall defensive linemen right now, and then of course our special teams unit. If we follow them in training results though, Derek Duval just doubled his overall. He now has some decent kicking stats, so that was a miracle. Same thing with our punter, and we're up to an 80 overall team in general. I knew putting Frederick Hawkins at wide receiver was going to be the right move. He has passed up all these other players in overall that have been at Arkansas State for years. And since I think we have the numbers to do it, I'm going to try and cut every player that is not an athlete that we've recruited from this roster. There was only a couple positions it didn't work at. For whatever reason, it wouldn't let me cut this strong safety, so we have a senior strong safety, and then we also have 3 senior receivers. I was able to get rid of the juniors though. So 2 years in, our entire team is basically just athlete recruits besides those 4 seniors, and most of them are going to be freshmen as well, which is super useful. They're going to be around for a long time, and it gives me the flexibility to go after some more 4-stars than I normally would, because we don't have to sign anybody now. We have the basic needs on this team filled, but once again, I will be redshirting most of the freshmen that aren't starting, and that does include JJ McCaleb. You might be wondering why I'd do that. He was the 4-star recruit I was excited about. Well, if we take a look at his skill caps, his accuracy is about as good as it's always going to be, so I don't think he's ever going to even see the field for us, even with his platinum field general. He might by the time one of these 2 guys graduate. Both of them have better accuracy skill caps, especially Jabari Gentile. He also is an impact dev player, but we know that he can get so much better than the 4-star. We all know that stars are not everything, so this time if I go after 4 stars, I think I need to know that either their stats are incredible or that they are a gem. I might have lied though. I'm gonna do what I did in the off season last year. I'm just gonna take a random shot. Anybody that's interested in our school off the rip, I'm gonna offer them a scholarship, and I'm just gonna see over the course of the season how many of them we can sign without putting any hours into them. And then for the few players I actually want to target this season, there's about 5 of them. 4 of them are gems, and 1 of them is a 5-star. Lonnie Ezek is a 92 speed 5-star athlete, so the odds of us actually landing him are pretty slim, but we're going to take that shot anyway. We also have a scrambling quarterback as a 4-star. This one's a gem, so a better hit rate. And then Jalen Blunt could be our first 4-star lineman. I'm curious what his overall would be if he came in. These guys are just going to be basic gems. If they're a running back, they can go anywhere on the field. I really think for most running backs, you can move them anywhere besides quarterback, offensive line, and then either the special teams positions. There are some of them that can only be on the offensive side of the ball, but most are both. That's why they're my favorite type of athlete to target, but this is it for our board. We have 350 hours spent across 5 players, and I am really hoping that we can somehow get Lonnie Ezeki. This is where how we perform on the field could really make a difference though. If we're losing games, he's not going to consider us. And at least we know that we can still take down FCS schools. We're not getting beat by them. We're not that bad. We have to face Memphis though. Last year, this one was not pretty, but I need to start winning these rivalries if we're ever going to unlock the architect coach tree. And that is literally a 4-year process for us without any mistakes. Winning 4 rivalries when you only have 1 rival is extremely difficult to do. It ends up taking a long time, and you're going to see we have struggled offensively with our new quarterback so far. Jabari Gentile has not been able to get us into the end zone once, but if we scramble and then go for it, we might be able to fight our way in. And this could be the start of us having a pretty big run. It really was, but we still have to come back in the final couple minutes. At this point, it is 28-21, and we could score a touchdown plus get the 2-point conversion for the win. I'm already seeing something that I like though. Hawkins is lined up in the slot on a guy that might not be able to keep up with him. Remember, this is our fastest receiver, and he is going to be gone to the crib. I really think we just have to kick our extra point. Either way, we had to prevent Memphis from getting into field goal range, and they're not running for it on 3rd and 17. I feel like this is going to be the perfect way to close out a game because all we have to do now is kick a field goal, though remember, it's a former quarterback. His kicking stats might have gone up a lot more than I ever thought they would, but he still has to hit it. And I really need to stop running halfback screens on this game. They just never work out as well as I'd hoped for them to. We have done exactly what we wanted though. We've gotten into the position we need to be in to win. And I really should have been running the ball, but I've decided to try and throw it to get closer. I also just made a really bad mistake. I panicked and called our final timeout, so we cannot go down inbounds this play, which we're not going to do anyway. I wasn't feeling very confident, but the pocket awareness should save us. This one is going to sneak in. And they even hit our kicker, so we would have had a redo anyway. I might have accidentally accepted that penalty just out of muscle memory, but it turned out out to be okay for us, and I'm just wondering how they still have not fixed that bug. Oh well, we're currently sitting at 2-0, about to face number 7 Texas A&M, who hasn't lost yet. They have ways that they normally fall off, but it won't be against us. And I am really hoping that there's a hard sell for Lonnie Ezeki for playing time, because he would actually value playing time, and we could hard sell him on it. I just don't think that's going to be the case. It wasn't, so we're just going to leave on send the house, though for one of the 4 stars, Jalen Blunt, the lineman, we do have a great hard sell that we can pitch. And the next week, I've taken all of our recruiting hours basically off of the 3 stars, so we can schedule all of these guys for a visit week 5 against Texas State. Going into this game, like I said we would be, we're going to be sitting at 2-1, but the Bobcats are 1-4. And I'm pretty sure if we are able to take down the 84 overall roster, we're going to be able to get a 5-star to commit. This would drastically help us shape the future of Arkansas State football. But here's the thing, they have been playing us extremely tight, except we're about to get a big run. The problem with giving carries to Carl O'Grady is he was originally a quarterback, and he only has like 85 speed, where redshirting are faster running backs. So we're almost better off just keeping it with Gentile, which is why I've pulled it with him here, even if it was the wrong read he gets in. He's been a great freshman for us so far, especially since I'm redshirting a lot of the guys that should be helping him, but now our defense is going to have to get another stop, and that juke was clean. It doesn't help that they've audibled either. I was going to send in a blitz, and we had 7 players supposed to go down. They did not do a very good job of getting in fast there, though I feel like we should be able to knock that out. And this is where we need to make our defensive stand. It's not going to be a size issue, but we couldn't get our hands up to get to that ball. I guess it is going to be a size issue. They are replaying whether or not it was a touchdown. There was a ref right there. And we are about to find out if Texas State is aware of our extremely fast receiver. They are not. Show me cover 2, and I'm going to show you how we can beat that. We're basically in field goal range. I just don't feel very comfortable with the game on the line kicking from this far out. Not having a great running back either is really frustrating. That is why you're going to see me scramble this much. And I really do hope in the next game they make having good quarterbacks a lot more rare. In every recruiting class, it feels like there is 100 guys that have 90 speed at QB. And that's why for most of my rebuilds, we are literally using the exact same type of build, just depending on the accuracy, that's where they vary. Texas State isn't doing themselves any favors either. So unless we somehow let them get into field goal range on this next play, this one is going to be over. I still play these last final seconds though, because I do not trust the computer to close it out. They would somehow find a way to give up a touchdown on this play if we went with the sim. And you cannot be celebrating like that after the slowest chase down ever. We'll take the win though. It was a great 4th quarter that led us there. And this is what I was hoping to see, at least one player on the committed screen. We might not get the 5-star though, because unfortunately we came so close to landing him. There's such a small gap there, but Florida has a visit this next week. And we're about to be facing the Mountaineers on the road that might be 2-4, but they are much better. As you can see, we did pull in 4-star quarterback Jim Orlando Scruggs, but you're not going to see a pop-up for the 5-star. And that's because whatever Florida told him on his visit, he decided it was smart to stay in the state and not become a Red Wolf. I can't really blame him for that. At least we were able to get 2 of the players that we wanted. I feel comfortable simming against Southern Miss because we beat them last year. And that's when they were 8-1, but we just couldn't stop their offense. It was 48-45. It would make sense the game went in overtime for it to be that high scoring. I would assume Jabari Gentile was pretty solid. He was. And as we sim through more of the season, I'm expecting him to carry us. Another player that could help with that though is Frederick Hawkins. The freshman had a great game against James Madison. The only issue with that is we still ended up losing that game, so I'm just glad on the road the next 2 weeks we were able to bounce back, putting us at 5-5. Now, if we look at the Sun Belt Division standings over in the West, there is no chance that we're going to beat out Southern Miss first spot in the conference championship, but we could still be bowl eligible. All we really need to do is take down either South Alabama this week or Georgia State next week. And I decided we'd sim against the Jaguars since Georgia State is 2-7, but as you can see, we got the right result. I didn't even need to hop into this game, which I was going to. And while we've simmed through the whole second half of the year, I can say I've been taking care of business in recruiting. Besides guys like 4-star quarterback Jim Orlando Scruggs, and then of course Jalen Blunt, we've been able to get a lot of agile athletes, and then we're on the way to get some other players as well. You can see the 10-point spread along a lot of these prospects. I really wasn't shooting for it, but I think we're going to be able to pull in our biggest class yet. You can see we lost to the Panthers to finish out the year. And the only way I'm going to regret not hopping into that one is if we don't end up making it to a bowl game, because we are sitting at 7th in the Sun Belt. Sure enough though, it should end up being okay. Jaden Davis won the Heisman at Michigan. Pretty sure he's transferred out from there already as a freshman. we are going to get the Scooters Coffee Bowl against UAB. And I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna be one of those takes where you probably roll your eyes at it, but I am not a big coffee drinker. I don't know what it is. I can eat Chipotle every day, no problem at all. I drink 1 cup of coffee, runs through me. It also just dries out my throat, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not alone, maybe I am on that take. But I am not a coffee fiend, an addict. I don't need it to wake up in the morning like some of you, and honestly, I'd much prefer it that way. Please do not fumble. Back to the game, we have them on 4th and 1. I was actually just gonna throw the ball here because I don't like running it that much, but it's 4th and 1. We should be able to just hand this off and score a touchdown. And do you know how much that matters when you give up 27 points? Not that much, but there is this kid over on the left side named Speed, so I was just kind of curious if he was actually fast or not. And then I've gotten the brilliant idea of we could sub in some of our freshman receivers that are faster, and since they've been redshirted all year, this isn't going to burn their red shirt since they can play in up to 4 games. You best believe I'm looking over at Jaquez Treggs on that right side of the field immediately. It looks like he has been able to beat the press. He's running under the football, and we could win this bowl game based off of just putting him in. You know, for someone that is just not great at this game, Heisman mode has its moments where it's hard and other moments where it's really easy. I am really hoping that it can become easy though for us these next 3 plays. We've got to stop the run. And I know exactly where they're going. They're going to fake the jet touch pass and then hand it off up the middle. This is where I'm a little bit confused though. They've decided to throw the ball. We forced a fumble. We're picking it up. And this is our bowl game to win now. They should have never let us back in this. You can't be pressing with that same dude. He's white. What are you doing? UAB is giving it straight to us. Thank you. Thank you. I have redeemed myself for 3.5 bad quarters of football in the last couple of minutes, though that was a really bad miss on the tackle. And they still have 30 seconds where they could cook up against us. We have to be extremely careful, though we gotta pick that. I know for a fact that that kid's an athlete. Couldn't tell you why he's not catching the ball there, though we are going to leave them open. They've caught it. You cannot get into the end zone. For a second, I was gonna get pretty cocky, but now I'm starting to get pretty worried. Put your hands up. I'm glad nobody else in the building thought that was a touchdown, because if they went in to review it, they would have had it. And look at them learning their lesson. They've come out with everybody backed up. Well, here's the thing. We have a 6'4" receiver that I'm going to throw it up to anyway. That didn't work exactly how I was hoping it would. We have to be able to get it out a little bit quicker. And you know what? I've seen enough. We are just going to come out in Wildcat, see if we can break off a big run with O'Grady. We need to get the block there. We do. This kid is 86 speed. Come on, buddy. You've got to be faster. No, no. He even fought off the tackle, but we were too close to stepping out of bounds. And that is what I get for moving an athlete that was supposed to be a quarterback to running back. You will never see the field again for us. There's no way. That was another opportunity where I could have used some of these guys with red shirts that were a lot faster, and I just didn't. So we are not going to be able to win a bowl game just yet, but for Jabari Gentile to have stats like this as a freshman, I think our future is extremely bright behind him. He even rushed for almost 500 yards. He averaged more yards per carry than our actual running back too. I do think that we could take a step back offensively though, since we're about to lose a couple senior receivers. We all know that they were not championship quality, where Kentucky did actually win it all. Love to see that. But they were still the best 2 seniors that were left on this roster that I was trying to get rid of. Going into next year, we will officially have our team of only athletes that we have recruited. As you can see, there's going to be 30 players left on our board. I'm pretty confident that we're going to get at least 27 of them. And that is all that we needed to pull in the 38th best class in the country. It's ranked the same as last year's, even though we had an extra 4-star. As you can see, we were able to sign 29 prospects. SMU took one of them away from us. They could probably offer a little bit more money, but that's not important. The important part is what dev traits can we find, and Trent Blanco, just a random 3-star I threw on our board, is our first elite dev player. We also found Lane Lopiensky. He has elite dev as well, so we've gotten very lucky. But the real moment of truth is, what does Jim Orlando Scruggs have? He has star dev on a quarterback that's a 4-star. That's incredible. I say all this after Jabari Gentile just had an incredible freshman year, but it's okay. We're probably going to end up redshirting this kid for at least a season anyway. And do you remember the other 4-star recruit, Jalen Blunt? He's going to be a 68 overall base. He's an agile athlete that could be much better on the defensive line, but this is the highest overall offensive lineman we have been able to find so far. I think our key to building up a good offensive line in the future is going to be going after those 4-star agile athletes. We are going to put Lane Lopiensky at running back though, because he is elite dev and that'll be our best running back. For the other elite dev player, the last one that you all really care about, we got Trent Blanco. I feel like we have a lot of guys at receiver already, so he could be a really good corner for us, or even a pass coverage middle linebacker, but he's still going to go to receiver. One thing I have found on this game is receivers and running running backs are the two positions that seem to develop the slowest. But now we have a good group of guys that I think could be very special by the time they're seniors. Gideon Drake had 96 speed, by the way. Did not notice that until just a second ago, but that's going to make him an incredible vertical threat. By the time that I have finally given all of these players a new position, what I've come to the realization of is there are a few specific type of athletes that we need to recruit more than anything else. And I know for a fact that I have over-recruited. This is just at our right outside linebacker position. I'm about to start moving a couple of them down to defensive line. This is where they should take a huge jump in overall. My expectations are pretty high, and I am curious. Taylor Teray's been playing on the defensive line for 2 years now, but I noticed he had 90 speed, so I want to move him to corner since he'd be better suited there. I'm going to be testing out all sorts of things with these athletes, seeing what we can do for their player progression and getting them up to the highest overalls possible. And I am starting to regret that we never got to redshirt Jason Beach. He was one of the players that started as a freshman on our offensive line. I think we're going to redshirt him this year. You can see our team is just getting better though. Look at all of these sophomores at our highest overalls. Jabari Gentiles even shot up to an 83 already. He still has 3 seasons left with us, and his accuracy is at 93 short throw accuracy. I am liking what I'm seeing, but I'm also considering that players like Frederick Hawkins, they are already capped out at an 83 overall. He can never get any better. I'm a little worried that athlete skill caps could hold this team back in the long run, or just speed. Like Carwell Grady, you can get transferred out of here immediately. As we move forward, I'm going to have to be very particular about the players that we sign because we're currently using 84 of our 85 roster spots already. But I guess I could always cut some of these kickers and punters because I did end up signing a couple extra just to see how 3 stars develop versus 2-star quarterbacks move to punter. Here's something I want to note though that needs to be addressed in the future games. Jarrett Coates was someone that was playing at tight end for us. I know he's an athlete, but this kid was originally a tight end. And he's just 211 pounds. This offseason, I moved him over to left tackle to develop his blocking stats, and he instantly has like 84 run block, 89 pass block. Does that even make remote sense? He could be starting at right tackle for us. In fact, I had to take him out of the depth chart there just so I could put him at tight end. And this also goes back to the progression on players like this kicker. He had 36 kick accuracy. It took 1 offseason, and he was immediately able to get up to 74 kick power, 69 accuracy. As nice as it is to have random player progression, I feel like I could just put a player at any position, no matter their size, their weight, their speed, and they develop to a monster anyway. That's just my thoughts on it. You're going to see Memphis is our first game of the year. I'm not going to play it just because we've played it so many years already. And this team can't be too bad because we got the result we wanted anyway. Then if we were to move over to what we're doing in the recruiting space, we have a couple of 3-star physical athlete gyms. These are the fast guys I can put at receiver, 93 speed and 94. Then we have a couple guys with the same type of build, except they're not gyms and they're 4 stars instead. So we have 4 guys that could basically be amazing receivers or even corners. Then for the top 2 prospects that are getting 75 hours a week, we have another agile 4-star. He'll be like a 70 overall lineman. And we have Patrick Burks. He is a gym, but he only has 92 speed. I don't really like receiving backs anyway, so it's not like he's going to play running back for us. But those are the only players I care about signing in this class, since if we want to sign more, we're going to have to cut some players that are already on the team. Speaking of our team, we're starting the season right. We're winning another game. We're about to face off against Troy. I'll probably play against Arkansas. But we need to start conference play with a win against Troy first. I can't even see their overall. That's been broken the entire year. Just little bugs I want fixed in the next game. Am I complaining too much? Maybe. I just have high expectations for a billion-dollar company. Clearly shouldn't have simmed that game either. We didn't score a single point against Troy. Up until that moment, I was actually feeling really confident in this team. But we might still need to wait a few years for our time to come, which is fine. We're only in season 4. We're also in control with a few minutes left against the Razorbacks. And they had a first down there, but their quarterback missed the throw. They're going to get above our zone on 4th down. So KJ Jackson had a little bit of a clutch bone in his body. But we were still able to get them to another 4th and long. And this time he had no choice but to throw it straight to us. We're getting the interception, and I'm going to go for the lateral. Oh no. Oh no. You see, I wanted to try and return that for a touchdown. I knew we had a lot of athletes out there on the field. What I did though was I gave it right back to them. They scored a touchdown, and if they get this 2-point conversion, it's tied up, but they can't. That was a smart decision of a quarterback spy out there. I've seen the computer do that too many times. And either way, whether I lateraled that ball or not, we are 1 first down away from a win. If our running back is going to be that gassed though, I might as well just try and do it through the air. That seems like an easier way to pick it up. And what is up with our team? Can athletes not handle wear and tear well? The blocking wasn't good there either, but I'm going for it on 4th down because I'm afraid that I'm going to have choked this one away, and we picked it up. In the future, I should probably be a bit smarter about how we close games out. But here's the thing. If I would have gotten a clip of me returning that for a pick 6, it would have been worth it. Do you see what that says right there? I've got almost 2,000 hours on this game. I have to do stuff every so often to make it more fun. Especially because before putting that much time into this, I did the exact same thing for over 2,000 hours on NCAA Football 14. I have certainly gotten plenty of time in playing college football video games. Don't love to see the loss to Hawaii, but I didn't play many games to start the year because I wanted to play some conference games. Those are the ones that could get us into our conference championship, and there's the top prospect on our board signing with the Red Wolves. I don't think that's really a surprise though. Surely we can beat the Jaguars in sim. And we did 31-0, so someone has been held scoreless in the 2 Sunbelt games we've played so far. If that trend keeps up, it should be Georgia State, but I am a little bit worried. They beat us at the end of last year, and they're an 84 overall. So I guess being 1-6 doesn't mean anything these days anymore. I should have never simmed it. I was holding out thinking that we needed to face off against teams like Texas State and Louisiana, and we still do. We're going to play Texas State this week. But going into this matchup, we should not be sitting at 4-3. At the beginning of the season, I thought our schedule looked so light that there was a real possibility we finished this year like 10-2. But clearly we're not up to the level I want us to be at yet. And is that Martino out there on the field? Don't get me wrong, great throw to who is supposed to be a left tackle, Coates our tight end. But it is never enjoyable to see your backup quarterback out there. We're also missing our starting center with a torn rotator cuff. Jabari Gentile's out for like the rest of the year. The more I play with Martino, I'm starting to understand why we could have had issues against Georgia State. And there's another example of our offensive line just not being that good. Our center is out, so we have to have our backup out there. The field goal gives us a lead with not that much time left, but they're about to respond with one of their own, and they do. That just means we're gonna have to figure out how to drive down the field one final time against them. Staying on his feet, Wells fights to midfield, and I am not opposed to eventually chucking up a prayer against them, though our left tackle got beat so quick we had to scramble. I'm really just trying to find a way to get the ball over to Worthy at the moment. He is on that right side of the field. Just trying to sneak in a YK Osiris line or something. We're gonna complete this pass and stay on our feet with Hawkins. Brian Hawkins, or whatever this dude's name is. It's definitely not Brian. It is actually Frederick, and he is the kid that gets us into the end zone. I can tell you right now, some wild stuff might happen in this game, but as long as we get the win, I'm happy. And we cannot let them get off this Hail Mary throw. We don't even want them to have a chance at reaching the end zone. They had all the time in the world, and that is just going to make it there, but we're going to get our interception, and you know what I'm going for. All right, it is time to lateral it. Come back. Someone catch it. You're open. Oh, we got caught. If we just had like a solid pitch and we didn't throw it 50 feet in the air, I think we could have taken that one back. I clearly have not learned my lesson, but that's okay. I think this team is going to continue to bail me out either way. Now, we are in an interesting position because I can only hop into one more game this season, and we finished the year at Louisiana. But if we still want to be in the running for getting into the conference championship, what we're going to have to do is beat everybody else before we play against them, and they're still 3-1 in conference play. That made me hesitant to sim against Louisiana Monroe, but we beat them by just 1. And then the following week against Southern Mississippi, who's having a really rough year, we didn't lose either. That means with 2 games left in the season, we're sitting at 2nd place in our conference, but we need Texas State to lose another matchup. We would have the head-to-head tiebreaker versus them, but we also need to make sure that we don't lose again. I figured Louisiana's got to be the toughest team. We'll just simulate against Georgia Southern, hop into our final game against the Ragin' Cajuns, and we ended up getting the win that we wanted. But sure enough, the Bobcats also won, so it's all going to come down to this final week where they face off against Southern Mississippi. It's not looking great for us, but at least we were able to sign all of these 7 players on our board. We exceeded the amount that we probably should have gone after, but I'll just make some cuts in the offseason anyway. It is time to finish this year strong. In case you were wondering, we are still going to be without quarterback Jabari Gentile, but I guess losing him wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was since we've won our last 4 straight. I might tell you that it's really affecting us, but that could also be just an excuse for me being bad. On 3rd and 8, I was going to use a playmaker, but he got caught up after we playmakered anyway. I need the ref to throw the flag there. I was on the field too. As you can see, there is one little use of coaches in this game. They do react on the sideline. We got that ref just jetting by as I'm upset. And if I'm being honest, I don't think there's any real way for us to win this one. Just in case there is, I have saved up all 3 of our timeouts, and they're going to miss the field goal. But we would have to literally score on this play, and I don't believe that's going to work. We're going to just chuck this up though and see if we can get lucky. We do. Are you telling me we couldn't do that all game, but now that we have no pressure on us, we're just making everything happen? We have to get out of bounds here, and we didn't, so I lost us the game there. Great job by me. The worst part about that result is if we would have won that game, we would have been in the conference championship, and instead we just sat on our couch watching from home. Michigan gets the Heisman winner 2 years in a row, and our bowl game is going to be the Cure Bowl, so it's not the coffee one. You can have me on the record too saying that I am passionate, I am deeply caring, and I really just appreciate everything that this bowl game stands for. I think the world would be a much better place if we just made Breast Cancer Awareness Month a much bigger deal again, because this is awesome. 10 years ago, everybody was wearing pink during the month. There was a Madden Mobile promo for it. I mean, what was there not to love? And that is how I wanted to start off this bowl game, with a touchdown. That would carry us to being up 35-21 as we head into the final few minutes. And on 4th and 1, we're having to run man-to-man coverage, which is where we kind of lack. Remember, there are no athletes that you can recruit as defensive backs, so they're all starting on offense. They're either mainly a running back or a receiver first, so it takes a little bit longer for their coverage stats to get up, and they have to throw it away. One thing Western Michigan has done a fantastic job of is making sure that they don't use any of their timeouts, but we have another chance at getting a return with a pick six. Don't let them pick this up, and we're going to take a safety. Okay, either way, we closed this game out from that point. They weren't coming back. But I feel like by now, I have got to make a pick six return off of an interception with a lateral happen. I think I spent more time this season caring about that than anything else. As you can see, yards per game is a massive difference. Ben Martino only averaged less than 100. With Jabari Gentile, we had 256. So we desperately need him for next season to be healthy. He'd still have 2 years left with us, and Frederick Hawkins was our #1 guy. We could also start to spend some of these coach points we've been accumulating, though. I want to improve our offensive line. We know that they're not the best because they start off as the lowest overall, so we're going to put some tactician points into that. I'm also saying it on the record right now, DeAndre Royer is getting fired at the end of next year, no matter what happens, because we need a tactician as our offensive coordinator if we want to ever compete for championships. As nice as the recruiting benefits have been, I think we have been able to lay a solid enough foundation. And the reason I know that is because we're going to have no players graduate this season or next year. I guess we're going to lose a kicker and a punter, and some guys could end up transferring out, but that is literally it next season. And I really have no urge to go after anybody else in recruiting. We got star dev on one of the 3 stars, star dev on another one, so we've already started off with 2 star devs, make that 4 of the 5. What a hit rate. I'm very happy with the class that we just brought in. Antoine Tuttle, we're going to be able to make him another good offensive lineman for us. I'm guessing guard is where he's going to develop best. And then outside of Patrick Burks, the one kid that was a 4-star Jim, everybody else has the exact same build. We're going to make him a hybrid safety or a slot corner. One of these 2 will be good. The rest of these guys, besides Phil Hose, all of star dev, they're all a physical athlete, and we have 95 speed Landon Kendrick starting us off. These are going to be all the positions we can put these guys at, which means we cover safety, linebacker, tight end, but I felt like wide receiver was the best landing spot for Landon Kendricks alongside Tori Uchi. Then we have Jarrett Coates, somehow an 82 overall left tackle. Moving him back to tight end, he becomes a 95 overall, so this would cause him to graduate early. But it's okay, I already have his replacement sorted. Now we're going to move Harbor over to left tackle and have him make the exact same gain this offseason. It's actually a really effective method. We're also going to take some of those guys that jumped up a lot in overall on the defensive line back up to linebacker because they can jump to stuff like a 90 overall. For all of these speed rushers, once they become sophomores, even juniors, that's when I like to move them down to the defensive line. I'm going to do a lot of that next season more than this year, but I'll still move a couple. It truly is remarkable how much this team of athletes is progressing already. We're up to an 88 overall, though I am afraid that a lot of these guys might declare early for the NFL draft with how good they've been able to get. So we'll see how that works out for us, and it is time for me to make the tough decision of cutting 6 players so we can keep this roster going into next year. One of the no-brainer decisions to me was just getting rid of these senior kickers and punters. I ended up recruiting better guys that have already progressed up to above a 70 overall. And also, if there's ever any corners that feel like they're going to be too slow, 86 speed at this position, we're just going to get rid of them. I really think that by now we've made about every signing that we could want. I think next season this team could be going for a championship, but we're still going to try and go after some 4 stars just to see what we can make happen. For all I know, we might not even be good enough at this moment, especially next year, to win it all. The biggest issue with playing in a small conference is if we lose any of these games in Sim, we're probably not going to be ranked high enough to get into the playoff. That could cause this rebuild to stagnate, even though it looks like we're just shooting straight up to a lot of success. So I'm hoping that we can at least make a couple signings here. I'm not that excited about any of these players. Even the 5-star prospect, he's just an agile athlete. He'd go on our offensive line. But I'm proud to say that we've made it to the point where we can be this confident, and Jabari Gentile barely progressed at all this offseason. The same kind of thing happened to Orlando Scruggs, though. I was hoping that he'd shoot up in overall, and he stayed around a 73. He is the 5th quarterback on our depth chart. And even taking a look at our running back room, taking a look at our receiving room, it is a very top-heavy roster at some of those other positions, but once you look at the skill positions, we're not good. All of a sudden, I am second-guessing everything. Our overall might be a little bit of a lie. We didn't even beat UMass in our first game. They took us down in overtime. This is not good, but I will not panic until we also lose to Memphis, since we've beaten them for years. I figured we were going to bounce back, and we did. Then we annihilated Air Force 42-0, but our next game is at Death Valley at number 21 LSU, and that's the hardest game that's left on the schedule. That's our real proving grounds, and you can see that we've been cut off from going after the 5-star because our championship contender grade is too low. Just when everything seemed like it was going so much better, it really wasn't, and LSU even lost a game, so this wouldn't be a great win for us if we pulled it off. But if we're being honest, I just don't see a world where we beat the Tigers. We have to deal with all of the little distractions of playing on the road that make it so much harder to win games, which we're handling well, while also knowing that their corners are so much better than all of our receivers, which is why I'm very thankful that they've been playing a lot of zone coverage. I'm trying to slide. I've also discovered I probably should have put somebody a little bit faster at running back. All of our running backs just don't feel that quick, and it is hard to believe that our blocking looks that good since these guys started as 60 overall linemen. They ended up progressing pretty normally as well, though there's a sack. That's what I've been expecting. We're going for it on 4th and 14 because we were not able to kick a field goal from there, and I've thrown it straight to them. Not exactly the best way to end the first half. They got into field goal range where they are going to be just in, and I really thought that that wasn't going to make it. As you can see, it has been two completely different types of offenses. Neither has moved the ball very well in this game, and we're going to have to trust that we can pick up more. Our slot receiver is simply not fast enough. We're going for it on 4th and 7. That can't be caught. And with the amount of failed drives I've had, I just feel very blessed. They're having terrible missed throws like that. They're punting it to us at midfield with 2.5 minutes left, and we still have a 3-point lead over them, which I'm hoping that we can extend with this Wildcat play. We have not run it in a while, but Caps is faster than what we have dealt with before, even if he's getting tracked down by a defensive lineman. That is why I have cut running backs from the pass. As great as our defense has been, we needed that more than ever. They're testing us one-on-one, and this might be the lateral pick 6. We just need somebody to get behind us here, and we got to go for it. Come on, break the tackle. One more lateral. Keep on going. Pick it up. What is happening? This is how they get the ball back. You know, I think it takes some serious courage to try stuff like that. Whenever you're playing at LSU, they almost got to that ball. But it's working out for us. They really haven't been able to do much offensively at all, and this is where it's going to end. I really don't know if that's because of how good we are, or they just are having a down year. But once we start simming some of our conference games, we're going to find that out. I really think the key part to that win was Monty Ware getting 6 sacks. And there is one battle on our board I'm not sure we're going to be able to win, but we have a visit this week that could get Paul Dennis to commit alongside some of these other players. It's Texas State as well, who was very solid last year. This time they're just an 80. But this feels like one of those games you play anyway just to be safe. I think that ends up making a lot of sense whenever you see that we are struggling against them. We're only up by 3 with 2 minutes left, and I'm really just hoping that we can force them into an interception or get a sack quickly. He is getting that ball out about as fast as he possibly can. Awful coverage from Lampkin, by the way. And this is all going to come down to the final 76 seconds. If they were smart, they'd probably run it. They went with an RPO instead, though. They had the option. And I'm kind of wondering, does the water fountain shoot off whenever the other team scores a touchdown as well? I don't think it's going to happen, but I am curious to see if it would, so I almost want to let them get in. And for how good of a year we're supposed to have, the stands are not very full behind the stadium. They aren't even going to tie it up. It is going to doink off of the upright. It looked like it was going wider left than that as well. And what a weird way for us to close out against the Bobcats. I don't feel great about winning this game in that fashion. And I can tell you exactly who was not impressed by it. Paul Dennis, as he is committed to Auburn. He was one of the 2 quarterback options I was targeting. I'd much rather have George, though, because he had 89 speed with Gold Magician. And I think the final game I hop into this season has got to be against Louisiana, since they're currently undefeated. We're about to do a lot of simming and praying because I do not want us to lose more than a couple of games. But of course, right before we play against Louisiana, where we would have a chance to improve to being like 6-1, we're gonna drop it to Southern Mississippi 16-15. This team of athletes might not be cutting it the way that I thought they would. It's not like we're dealing with a lot of injuries. And the worst part is I had these top 3 players on a visit against them, where I'm surprised that we got one of them to commit and we're not out of the running for this 5-star now. At least we have a great opportunity to redeem ourselves literally a week later. I'm hoping we don't mess this up. For being an 89 overall, you would think that we just dominate teams in the Sun Belt, but that has not been the case so far. I know Louisiana is one of the better ones, but they are another another team that is just putting up a battle, they're going to be able to make it in. And I should have known better, had a quarterback spy out there on the goal line, as they're going to get the 2-point conversion too. At least we're flying down the field, seeming like we're going to be able to respond as long as we don't fumble. And this is where the fullback dive has to really work out for us, which it does. I will not let them run for a first down on us either. I had a quarterback spy out there and they still did it. I can't believe what I'm witnessing. He literally just took off immediately the second he snapped the ball, and now they're going to take a check down going out at the 20. It is going to be hard to make ourselves win this. They're fighting. They're making us burn our timeouts. And we should have been able to put away Louisiana a lot sooner than this. Your roster on paper doesn't mean everything though. On third down, we literally just whiffed on the tackle. Don't bring him down. Now they're going to be able to settle for the game-winning field goal. We have to let them get in. That was our only way to have a chance here, though I am interested why they think they should be pressing our fastest receivers. I'm not sure it's going to work out for us. We have the size advantage though. It was in our hands. This Louisiana team has turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was. I mean, they are able to press us, some of our fastest players. I don't know what is going on for us to dump this off to Hawkins. But we are keeping our hopes alive, and there it is. We got the release over on the left side of the field. Hawkins runs under it, and he's still caught. You know for a fact we're going for that 2-point conversion. Assuming we get into the end zone, we just need to roll out, wait for one of our slants to get open, and I'm so scared to throw this, but we're going to try it anyway. I guess it is important to note that we do still have one of our timeouts left, so if we don't get in here, we'd be okay. But we made it just far enough to set off the waterfall. You know the play call on the 2-point conversion as well. It is either going to be a touchdown, 2-point conversion, whatever, or it's going to be a loss of 5 yards. This one's going to allow us to celebrate. And we did not deserve to walk out of this one with a win. There's a pretty big issue though. This is the last game I can hop into this season. And if I had to guess, with the way the sim system works in this game, we're probably going to finish the year like 8-4. Either way though, we've gotten our first 5-star athlete, so that's an accomplishment. And Jaquez Treggs won Player of the Week with 42 receiving yards. It works out though. He scored enough points alone to be able to take down Georgia Southern. Our final 4 matchups are all on the road. And the one year I think we're going to easily cruise to the conference championship, Southern Mississippi and South Alabama are both tied for us in first place. We always end up beating Louisiana Monroe though, so I'm not too worried about this one. And all I'm going to say is there is a reason I'm looking at this recruiting class right now, seeing what we have coming in. I'm just going to appreciate that we've been able to at least make 5 signings. I genuinely don't know how an 89 overall roster is losing to some of these teams that we are. But maybe part of that comes back to where I had 70 points going unused that should have been getting poured into this tactician tree. That's what I'm starting to do right now. We need to make sure that our receivers are getting some better boost as well. And then once we fill all that up, I told you all this offensive coordinator is getting fired and our defensive coordinator needs to stick around. With a loss to Louisiana Monroe, I don't think there's anything too impressive we can do to finish out this year. And sure enough, we beat Coastal Carolina, we beat South Alabama, but it was Troy that took us down, who was 2-7 at the time. That was just a gross season of sim results. We would have made the conference championship if we won one of those 3 games that we should have. And I am 100% fully justified to fire this offensive coordinator immediately. I know I said I love the Cure Bowl, and I do. I love what it stands for, but I do not want to have to play in that again this season. I wanted to have a chance at making it to the playoffs. And instead, we're headed to Myrtle Beach to play against Ball State, who just went 7-5. As you can imagine, this is not where I envisioned us at the end of this season. But I wasn't kidding when I made the point that our offense is just simply not that good. We're up 21-0 in this game, and our defense is showing how incredible it is. But we had a lot of moments this season where we did not score as many points as we should be against some of these smaller schools. This is a great example of it. I thought Jabari Gentile was going to be the quarterback that led us to the top spot, but as he continues to have seasons that are worse than what he did as a freshman, I'm really starting to consider that. He didn't even lead the team in rushing like he used to either. This is still a good amount of yards. I just wanted to see a little bit more, and why is Mike Speed, our running back, our second leading receiver? That could be a big part of our issue too. It has given me the idea though of moving him over to wide receiver next season for us. There wasn't a single tactician for me to hire. This is the best that we're going to be able to get. And the only thing that could make this season worse is if we lost a lot of players to the NFL early. Sure enough though, we have 2 players trying to declare, listen, my pitch to you is going to be, if you can't carry us to 10 wins in a year at Arkansas State, you are not good enough or ready for the NFL yet. We're just going to persuade both of them to come back. And of the 5 signings that we made this year, we're going to have 1 elite dev player, but that's about it. On top of having the best development, Emmanuel Nesbitt is the highest overall that we got out of this class. He's going to start off as either a 75 or a 76. 86. And as I was about to say, it is time to cheese position changes. I noticed that I cut the left tackle that I moved over from tight end last year, so we're just going to have to make sure that I don't cut Gideon Drake whenever we move him over. I'm a little ashamed to say this, but I think I spent about an hour moving all these players around. They're going to have different tendencies and everything. Like Jabari Gentile, he became a field general. We're going to see what that does to his stats. And the last player I still might want to move positions on is JJ McCaleb, because he is 99 change of direction, 96 agility, 99 acceleration. He's a higher overall running back, so I got to put him there. Wait, actually, I lied. You're not going to see him at this position because I was curious. I wanted to move him over to wide receiver, and he got platinum shifty, platinum takeoff. This is perfect. It also still shows that he has field general as his mental ability. I think athletes might be the most fun thing to use on this game. He could shoot up a ton in overall in the future. And if things go right with these training results, maybe he becomes our #1 receiver. Well, he's not up here with Wade Stewart, who is a 97 overall, but you can look at our roster and see that it has gotten so much deeper and better. Jabari Gentile didn't really get much better, but I think our quarterback room is the worst position group of them all. You can see that all the moves with the running backs has paid off. And then at wide receiver, JJ McCaleb is an 87 overall. If you have a guy that has 97 plus acceleration, I would say always move him to receiver. We just looked at his player card a second ago. This is going back to that. You can see he maxed out the hand skill caps. He still could get better at route running too, even some of these. And going into this, to build a team like the one I am looking at right now of just athletes, I didn't even believe this was possible. Our offensive line turned out all right. Defensive line, we always knew this would be good. But then our linebackers and corners are where things get really, really impressive. We have a lot of depth on this team, so if we don't win it all this year, we could probably do it the next year. And even on the special team side of things, for these players being like 35 overalls whenever they were freshmen, this is good progression. Even though with our offensive coordinator too, that we're not getting all the boost on tactician that we should be, we have 30 coach points to spend, so this is going to make our quarterback play a lot better once we max this out. And all I'm going to say is getting Jabari Gentile up to an 89 overall without his accuracy even being fully maxed out is plenty good enough for me. If he gets injured, we do have some other options that we could pivot to as well, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. The final change we have to do is make Gideon Drake a tight end again. And even though he's nowhere near as good as Jarrett Coates, he is still a 96 speed, 84 overall at this position, which is still solid. He's only going to get better from here on out, and with this roster, I'd feel comfortable with it winning the SEC, but we're in the Sun Belt, which is even easier. Hopefully Sim doesn't mess us over. I have put #3 Ole Miss on our schedule too. I don't really feel the need to recruit though, because we're either winning it all this season or next season. There is no way that this team messes it up twice. And I think I forgot to mention the running back that almost led our team in receiving yards, Mike Speed. I did actually make a receiver. He's an 86, but solely because of his speed, he is going to be our 4th receiver, and we're putting JJ McCaleb in the slot with the shifty ability that could be incredible. I have set some very high expectations for this season, so if we lose our first game against the Razorbacks, I'm going to be pretty upset. But just considering the fact that we beat them 45-7, I think all the work that I put in the offseason to make sure this roster was as good as possible is really paying off. If you didn't know, most of the time when you move a player from, let's say, left tackle, we move him over to left guard, he will re-roll all of his abilities and he'll get the highest one possible. So a guy like Jason Beach will instantly get all of his physical abilities maxed out whenever you change his position, and then it means that he can solely focus on maxing out his skill caps instead of also spending XP upgrading abilities. That's why you might notice sometimes I will flip left and right ends back and forth 4 times during the rebuild, because they will continue to max out their abilities and go higher and higher overalls. It's how we've gotten Wade Stewart to a 97. And keep in mind, he was a 3-star with impact development. He was never supposed to be this good, but we've been able to get him some amazing abilities and amazing stats. That's the process I did with literally every position. Corners went to safeties, safeties went to corner, and then I swapped them right back, so all of their abilities are maxed out for each one of these. And that's what makes it possible for players to fill out most of their skill caps, though if we have another year with them, they could still get even better. After having a conversation or two though, I can pretty much say that probably won't be in college football 26. There are people that are aware of it and don't want it to be there. So please, enjoy it while you can. You literally watched me move a quarterback that had been a quarterback his entire career to wide receiver, and he immediately had platinum shifty and platinum takeoff. I would do it all over again, time and time again too, to have a team that is playing as well as ours has in this game so far. Ole Miss can't stop us. I think they've tried about everything, but we have somebody that has takeoff and also shifty. McCaleb is so much fun. I am gonna have to do this more often before we get to the end of this game. I might have found a real method in this video. You just have to recruit quarterbacks that have extremely high acceleration, and it's not that rare. What's so funny though is I guarantee that there will be one Sunbelt team that either beats us or gets it within like 3, even after how clearly amazing this roster is. I think everyone had to have jumped by like at least 5 overalls. This is a night and day difference from what we were dealing with last season. And as long as I don't throw a bunch of interceptions with Jabari Gentile, he should win the Heisman Trophy. I guess if there were any other team on our schedule that would take us down, it would probably be Memphis. So we might as well hop into this too, but I don't think I have to do much. I'm telling you, this team just makes scoring easy. I am so confident we're going to score on this play that I have already called it out right beforehand. And look at this. Up the slot, there is no chance that you can keep up with Hawkins. There's just certain looks the computer gives you where I know I'm going to take advantage of it. And what I've been wanting to do is get McCaleb on some drag routes for him to run under it and then cut upfield. The shifty ability is by far the most fun one in this game. The only issue we're facing is he's super tired. So the longer this one goes on for, the more I realize I'm just going to have to score the other way, looking at them pressing us and taking the free points. I feel like after this video, what I've learned from it is I should just start building teams of athletes. This is one of the best ones I think I have ever played with on this game, and that says a lot. It doesn't even look that good on paper, but it performs. And I say all that to sit here and just expect us to choke against one of the schools that we play on the rest of our schedule. It was never going to be against an FCS school, though. We have earned our double bye week. After that, on the other side of it, we only have our Sunbelt games. And we actually got the respect we were looking for a lot sooner than I thought we would. We've been moving up in the polls all the way to 19 before we play Troy. Now, I do want to be very clear. Jabari Gentile going into conference play is on pace to average 60 touchdowns, 3,700 passing yards. And most importantly, no turnovers, but he is not in the Heisman conversation yet. What I'm expecting to happen is as we sim through these Sunbelt games, he's going to fall off. He's not going to be on pace to have as good of a year. But really, as long as we're not losing games that we should clearly be winning, I don't mind. The best part is I still have the option to hop into one more regular season game too. And all that's happened so far is the winning has just continued. We're left with 4 games in the year after we beat a few more opponents. But I see Southern Miss. They're sitting at 7-1. That is definitely going to be the game I hop into. I refuse to let them mess up this season. It seems like we should be going undefeated. And I think by now, I'm pretty confident that any real test we're going to get isn't going to come until the playoffs because nobody can stop this offense. It's honestly so satisfying to see the team that you've built just dominate this much. But as we continue to pick up very impressive wins, I'm noticing something. At one point, we were climbing the polls extremely easily, but now it's started to slow down. So if we pick up any losses, we're probably going to fall pretty far. We can't get above all these 2-loss big conference schools. And that's why no matter what, we cannot fall to the Golden Eagles. I think if anybody is going to challenge us, it's going to be them. And especially on the road, that does provide an extra challenge. Well, at least it normally would. I'm not sure it really does at Southern Miss, especially because McCaleb is just getting out of there that quick. The shifty ability is amazing. And I was going to try and show it off by swerving around those defenders. We're just going to have to get into the end zone now. It's been a while since I've used the Auburn playbook, but that's what I've been using, and it's been great. It's especially a lot of fun whenever you have shifty guys, you have fast quarterbacks. And if you thought Southern Miss was going to stand a chance against us, I have some bad news for you. I don't love our quarterback taking shots like that, but it was my fault he took it. And there's not really much else to say about this game besides we closed it out with ease. We beat the best team in the Sunbelt on the road by 40. Well, the second best team. We're the best one, clearly. To wrap up the regular season, we're facing the Raging Cajuns. They're sitting at 8-3, and they're an 86 overall. But considering that we rose in the rankings with this pop-up, I'm pretty sure we won. It is so nice to see an undefeated regular season. It really is. They did put up 35 on our defense, though. So maybe it's the weaker unit versus our offense. We have to play the winner of the other division. That was Old Dominion, who is ranked inside the top 25. And if we win this game, we're in the playoffs, but if we lose it, we might actually not be. Now, I did notice we're averaging 42 points per game this season. So I figured that Jabari Gentile would be in the Heisman race by now, and he is, but Miami's probably going to beat him out for it. They have multiple players up there at the top of the race. You're going to see that we get to host the conference championship. And that just makes things even harder on Old Dominion. We are abusing the shifty ability as well. We should be able to swerve inside here and get a touchdown. But even if it doesn't happen, I just wait to see what type of coverage they're going to run. And if it is anything that doesn't have a bunch of deep help, we're cooking it. We get to celebrate this one in front of the fountains going off. That was a sick shot right there. And here in the fourth quarter, one thing that has not happened has been Old Dominion scoring points. They literally just threw it straight to us. I'm pitching it back to them for a reason. One, I wanted the lateral pick 6, but 2, I want them to score. I have been waiting to see what happens if the opposing team scores, if the water fountains go off or not, and they just can't do it. I'm literally not on anybody. Our defense is so good that even when I don't want us to stop them, we are. Please, just get the touchdown. And let's go check on the other side of the stadium. It's going to be really hard to tell, but I think that's when the ball just reached the end zone. Do the fountains go off? They don't. I wasn't expecting them to, but I also wasn't sure if I expected EA to get that correct. The thought of trying to code that in seems like it'd be pretty challenging. We're going to recover the onside kick, though, so that's it. I'm just ready for the playoffs and for us to get an opponent that can actually challenge us. It is honestly just way too easy. Most of our mistakes like that one where things don't go right are our own fault, and this is us attempting a kick with a kicker that used to be a quarterback. It doesn't seem like it's going to go in, but it does. I'm standing on the fact that building a team full of athletes might be the best team that you can build of mainly just 3 stars. And I'm afraid this stat line is not enough to get him the Heisman Trophy. What we can do, though, is we can max out the tactician tree because we've leveled up again and again. We're going to make sure our running backs get the most stat boosts too. And you might not think that does that much, but it just shot every player in this position group up by 2 overalls. You can cause players to go up by 4 or 5 whenever you have all the coordinators with those boosts as well, but look at this. Miami got the Heisman. We're probably going to have some other awards like Mafi getting the best defensive player, but that was literally it, and I find it ridiculous we didn't win the Heisman with these stats. 44 touchdowns, only 1 interception, 69% completion percentage, and then another 6 touchdowns, 400 yards on the ground. We also had Randy Capps going over 1,000 yards himself. To add on to that, JJ McCaleb had 19 receiving touchdowns. We had 2,000-yard receivers. Our tight end, Jarrett Coates, was 3rd in receiving yards. And then on defense, we had over 60 sacks as a team because Wade Stewart and Tavita Mafia combined for over 40. This has to be one of the most impressive statistical seasons I've seen out of one of our teams. And in the next round of the playoffs, we're going to draw Penn State. They were able to beat Washington by 5 points. Michigan held Clemson to 0. And I know that we dominated against number 3 Ole Miss earlier on in the year, but they finished 8-4, so this could be our first really hard test. For all we know, we've just been whooping up on easier competition basically the entire year. And we're not actually legit. That's what I'm starting to think, is we were down 28-0 at one point in this one. If we can pull off a 28-point comeback, that'd be extremely impressive, but we might just be headed into next season. And I can't believe how slow of a start this team got off to. I thought it was going to get better, and it never did. We aren't out of it yet, though. We just need to be able to finish this drive. And it is not looking good for us. It's 4th and 8. We're hitting our slant, except it's dropped. All of that talking up I did for this team, all of the confidence that I had, and it just went out the window extremely fast. The next time that we're going to get the ball back, there's about 7.5 minutes left. But we just haven't been able to beat their corners deep. That's been the most noticeable part about this game. I think they were in cover 2, though, and we caught them lacking. We're even going to break the tackle to take this in. And there might still be a little bit of hope for us. On 3rd and 11, they have nowhere to go. What we are going to be waiting on is man-to-man coverage or anything where we can hit McCaleb on a drag route. And I think they're going to be in cover 2 again right here, though their corner might be able to make a play on that ball. I've seen them put their hands up. Sometimes they just make that miraculous catch without ever even turning around. And we are going to need our defensive line to step up right here. I'm assuming it's a run. It's play action, but we're all over them. Well, everything just shifted extremely fast. We're going to be at midfield still fighting. And it is time for my favorite play out of the Auburn playbook. We've not run it in a little bit, but the blocking always looks good. One guy to make miss. We're not going to do that. We have a receiving back. I definitely waited a little bit too long to hop into this game, but ever since I have, we have come back from down 28-0. And it was really sad watching this team struggle, knowing that we had the type of year that we had. If we can finish this off, this has to go down as one of the most embarrassing chokes in football history. They were up by 28. Now they're in a position where I'm just looking for ways to beat them deep. I'm not sure if their safety can outrun our backup tight end as we have Drake and Gideon Drake holds on. I should have just been doing this from the beginning. I didn't want to just try and beat them deep over and over. We couldn't on the outside. But something has opened up for us, and sending in a blitz, there's no way. They just tested Lieber. Should I try the pick 6 lateral? Give it to him. Oh gosh, this is really going to come back to bite me, isn't it? I really don't like that we're celebrating the interception, buddy. You just gave it right back to Penn State. The sad part, too, is I had such a good defensive play call, and it was all just messed up. On 3rd down, they're sending it deep. There's no way they just gave us another pick. We are one play away from beating the Nittany Lions now. That's a great pass. We still knocked it loose though. I saw some ability light up as we did that as well. That's why you move guys around. You get those platinum abilities on them. And what a difference it makes. We are on to the semis. I really don't know how Penn State messed up that bad. The only explanation really is they just couldn't run the ball. 28 rushes for 18 yards shows that once they started running, trying to get through the clock, they got stopped a lot. That was fun to have a challenge again with this team too. Iowa is going to sneak by the Wolverines by 1 point. They were the Big Ten champions. So the Hawkeyes are the team that we're facing in the next round, but did you really think they could come close to averaging as many points per game as us? They have strictly been known in recent memory for not having a good offense. And so if their defense can't hold it down for them, it might be a really long game. But as you can see, they are. We didn't have enough time to get that pass out, so we're having to settle for 3. By the time that we get a little bit closer to halftime, not much has changed besides we're going to break that tackle and run for a first. And really just hoping that we are able to finish off this drive. We'll see if we can make it happen. We don't have the speed. So I am surprised that McCaleb got us there. The one thing about having Platinum Shifty with him is without speed, it's not as fun. Don't get me wrong. He's still great after the catch, but it's just not the same as it would be if he was a little bit quicker. We're going to playmaker here, throw it up and try and make that catch. I don't know what we just had to go through right there, but that did not look pretty for us. We're still going to get a touchdown. And the longer the game goes on for, the more that I think I was just going to have to accept they're not going to be able to stop us and beat us. Up to this point, they've scored 3 points. It has genuinely just been embarrassing for them. They can't do anything, and we have even been able to force the ball loose. The only reason that I am even still in at this point in the game is I want to force an interception and go for a lateral pick 6. But we didn't get the chance to do that there. They were able to just sneak it by us. And I guess our final opportunity to do it is going to be in the national championship. I'd say like 95% of the time, if I make it this far in a rebuild with a team, I'm normally able to win it all. There have been a few that have gone the wrong way, but it is pretty rare. If there were anybody that could do it though, it might be this Miami team. I mean, they're undefeated. They've been having a good season themselves. And trust me, I have not forgotten they also have the Heisman winner on their team. That's what we're going up against in this game, but watch this. I think we're going to be able to roll out and throw for a long touchdown. It's just our former quarterback is not as good at catching as you would think he might be, and I swerved out of the way so they could get an interception. All along though, it was just a plan to get them on the 1 yard line so we could get a safety and the ball. And that means there's only one way that this drive can go. I have to score a touchdown out of it, which means we have a long way to go as it's going to be a 4th down. It was a very low score in first quarter though, so I know that to win this game, we're going to have to get points. And it really might not take much to come out on top at the end. That's why we have a 96 speed tight end. I feel like he beats the defense deep more often than not. We're fumbling it away. They're going to scoop this up and probably return it all the way back. You're supposed to be an athlete, buddy. How are you not faster? Why do you look out of shape? I am afraid that I have been let down in this game by our team. I'm hoping that we end the first half with a bang. It looks like we're going to. I just didn't want to throw it up like that for a touchdown. I really didn't have a choice, though. We'd fallen behind by too much. It's not like the next quarter and a half would go much better for us, though. We find ourselves still losing by 1 possession here in the final 3 minutes. I think we gave up a safety at some point. So the Hurricanes return the favor, and one thing I've noticed about this team is as good and fun as it is to play with, it certainly has its issues whenever you decide to sim with them, and even the blocks aren't lining up when we need them to. That play is normally money for us. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to have to go into another season, or if we're going to be able to overcome this as well and clutch up. I mean, if we overcame Penn State, we can overcome this. We're most likely going to either get a touchdown here, though, or lose like 3 yards. That works for me. Things are now tied up, but we still have to be able to get the ball back. If I didn't trust our corners so much, this would probably be like giving up a touchdown. We couldn't stay pressed up. I'm really not even sure how he was able to get that open in the first place. We were supposed to be running press man to man, and look at how fast he's getting it out. Good thing the Hurricanes are calling timeouts, because right now they are in field goal range and I am trying to force a sack. I think on 3rd and 3 though, they're just going to run it, so we were ready to stop it. And the Natty's going to come down to us getting a field goal because they shanked theirs. You can't make this up. We moved quarterbacks over to kickers, and we have better kickers than the Hurricanes do. And I'm starting to think the EA has just coded in the Hurricanes to choke in situations like this, because it has happened so many times in imperialisms and in rebuilds. They always miss the easiest field goals ever. It's actually really funny. They're going to try and make a tackle and miss, but I really can't be talking too confident until we make sure that we are inside the 20. This might not be the play call for that either. I just saw that we could run Wildcat with one of our receivers, so I wanted to. What is the blocking? We only have 1 timeout left. I've actually messed this up so bad. There's 10 seconds left in this game. Make sure we at least pick up the first down. That's what we need. And all I'm going to be looking for on this play is about another 5 to 10 yards, which is why we've been able to run and then fumble it to him. Please scoop it up. We're going to overtime. I genuinely don't have any words for how badly I've handled some games in this rebuild. For whatever reason, I've been playing like an absolute moron, and it could cost us the national championship. It is now 3rd and 9. They are going to send in pressure, but I saw that we should be getting open. And I am so glad that Gentile can remain dialed in these situations, except he didn't there. The worst part is they could just score a touchdown, then get the 2-point conversion, and we would never have a chance again. And there is no way that just happened. It's now 3rd and 10. We're in the back of the end zone. Please hang on. This has been such a weird ending to this game. And now it's going to be time for Miami to have back-to-back offensive drives. If our defense was ever going to step up, now would be the time. What I have been figuring out is this look doesn't really work against teams like the Hurricanes. It worked in Sunbelt play. And it seems like they're just going to effortlessly score versus us. That tackle, though, gave me a little bit of hope. They're going to take a sack. And this is the look that we're giving them on 3rd and goal. We have to make sure that they have nothing there. I'm going to have to make the user play. It could have been a fumble. And you best believe that we have our quarterback spy out there. There's nothing open. We have a zone there. We get a hand on it. They weren't able to pick that up. It took way more effort than it ever should have, but we have won the national championship. And once I saw that we were going to have linemen, kickers, punters develop way more than they should, I knew it wouldn't be too challenging. In fact, I would argue that 3-star athletes move to other positions develop way better than 3-stars that are stuck at their normal position. Look at this corner. Athletes might be the most overpowered thing that you can recruit on this game still. And I do want to point out that after having a great freshman year, Jabari Gentile bounced back as a senior. He finally had a good season again. So I'm expecting to see his name on our draft board of all the players that got drafted from this team. He ended up going in the 5th round. And if you made it to this point in the rebuild, please make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, like the video, and then go ahead and watch another rebuild because I know that you're enjoying them.